Hey, y'all. So, welcome back to another time with Meditations with Marini. And today I am going to talk to you guys a little bit about the fear and anxiety that kind of goes along with going through a divorce. And what kind of made me talk about this is a friend was speaking with me about it and kind of talked about the topic would be something good to chat about. But also, today I had an experience and it kind of made it tie into what I felt like I would be able to authentically speak about with you guys. And so, anytime that someone is having to go through a relational situation or a divorce or something of that sort, it is not an easy decision to make. Typically, by the time you get to that final portion where the papers are being filed, like it has just gone on so long or for such a period of time. And sometimes they are amicable where people are saying, okay, we just not made for each other and you're going to go your way, I'm going to go my way. But most times it's not going to be that pretty, it's not going to be that simple, it's not going to be that easy. And so I kind of want to talk about the things that I can tell you that I went through. And if you looked at one of my previous videos, I talked about the fact that it was probably about 4 years. Um, it was probably 4 years into our marriage, and we were married for 12 years. Around that fourth year is when I initially gave him a set of divorce papers, and I did my divorce myself. I didn't pay an attorney. Because I just didn't feel like there was a need for that. We could talk about what it was that we wanted to split. I asked him, like by that at the beginning, I wanted to keep the house, and when we kept going back and forth, by the time we got to like year 5, 6, 7, because he kept saying he wanted to work through the marriage, and so therefore I kept trying to see if we could make that work. But one of my greatest fears, if I had to be honest, was starting over at 50. Like, what was that going to look like for me? How was that going to be financially? I knew what I had already built over the years, and when I was with him, I retired from one of my jobs, and then I had been working at another location, and I was in school, so I was doing some things to change my career path. But I had a fear of, like, what does that look like, being back out here again by myself, kind of going through this process. I did have to make some serious financial changes to my life. Like, there were some things of comfort that I had that I couldn't keep that any longer. One of them, for instance, is I had a housekeeper, and she came about once every 2 months, and it was usually, she had been cleaning my house maybe for about 3 to 5 years, somewhere in there. And so she really did a good job at keeping me structured, organizing me. Like, we had a rhythm in place that if it was something that was there and it was still in the same spot when she came back the next time, like, she had a rhythm in place where she helped me also to get rid of things. And she would be like, Marini, this still got the tag on it and you haven't done anything with it, so let's let that go. That was one of my biggest things, giving up something like that. Just worrying about what that financial component looked like for me to be able to handle the household on my own. And so I would have to say that it was also the fear of being alone at that age. In most cases, what I would honestly say is that there is a very slim pool of men, for me, as a woman, there's a slim pool of men that would possibly want to get married again. And so it was like, man, you kind of in it and you like, just stay in this right here. And I really had to just I had to really count what that would look like in long term for my years to come. And when I really sat down and I looked at the lifeline of my family and the women in my family, it just boiled down to the fact that I would rather be fearful and take the leap and be by myself for those 30 years or however long I got, and be happy and have some level of joy and a level of peace, than to be connected to somebody and I'm totally miserable. And I'm just not one of those people. Like, I cannot fake the funk. If I'm happy, I'm going to show that I'm happy. If I'm not happy, I'm not going to be able to show it. Now, and when I say fake the funk, like together. So I know some couples, like, they still go out, they do things, they hanging out, and everybody's like, man. So when it does happen, it's like, what? We had no idea that going on. And it just, for me, we had kind of gotten to the point where he went to his places, I went to mine. Like, I really didn't go to his family functions or whatever anymore. You know, I would maybe tell him about mine if he wanted to come, that was fine, but I didn't really incorporate that in with us as a group. But the stress, I think, that went along with it. I was also concerned because of the fact that he had been in my home for 10 years. He had been with my children for that amount of time. Like, I was concerned with what that would do to them. Like, how would they feel now with just being in a single parent household? I'm trying to think of some of the other things that I really had fear and or anxiety about. I think the biggest component was the financial piece. You know, when you've been together with somebody for 10, 15, 20 years, you've kind of built a life together based on your financial connectivity. And that is one thing that I think that, you know, when I get married again, that we would have a serious conversation about, you know, really strategically trying to work to live off of one salary, especially since we're in my age bracket. I would think that most people that are in my age bracket, we're trying to move more towards retirement. And so trying to live a lifestyle where if he already has his own place, I already have my own place, we're both paying 2 different mortgages or rent in a different place, that we would then be able to save at least one of those. Even if we couldn't save everything else, the lights, the gas, the water, the electricity, lights, gas, water. And, you know, even like cars and things like that, some of those things are things that you have to do. But if we could take one mortgage or one rent and just put that aside every month, I think that that would be a goal that I would love to see. As far as the stress that went along with it, I think, if I'm completely honest, my stress went away the day that, and I'll have to come back and do a story, but the day that I ended up putting his things out. He didn't move out. I literally moved all of his things out. He came by the house that day. If you haven't heard my story, you need to go back and read. You need to go back and see the videos that talk about never date in your broken space. If you go back and look at on my page, look at never date in your broken space. There's a part 1 and a part 2. I'm gonna come up with part 3 pretty soon. But if you'll know why I put his things out that day. And when that happened, he came by the house that day and he said, well, I'm not going to move my things, you know, if and you're not going to put them out because I'm going to call the police. And I just told him, I said, well, today is a good day for you to call the police. Today is a good day. Today is a good day for you to call the police. And when you hear somebody say that, that's not, when it's somebody like me, just sweet, kind, usually don't bother nobody, and you hear her say something like that, you might want to be like, no, today might not be a good day for that to happen. But, you know, seriously, and I'm trying to make light of it, you know, because this is more of a heavy topic to me. And even in something like what happened today, I had to go and have my car serviced. And I was just really frustrated because, you know, I do feel like oftentimes dealerships, they ignore what a woman is saying, but they will pay attention to a man. So I do feel that there is a difference still in the traditional roles that people play in marriage. And, you know, just frustrated because I've been kind of dealing with the issue with my vehicle and it's not doing this particular thing all the time. But, you know, I got upset with the service person because I feel like he kind of just dismissed the fact that I know, like, don't make me feel like I'm crazy about this car. And in my mind, while he was driving and talking to me, I was thinking to myself, see, now that's why, you know, if I was married, like, I wouldn't even be dealing with this. Not saying that marriage, and I want to make sure I'm clear on that, not saying that marriage covers all of those things. But what I will say is that I know now, walking in my healed place, in the place where I know now to vet a person properly, I would never marry someone or be with someone that is not going to cover me in that area, because there's just certain things that I expect now from that perspective. So dealing with a vehicle would not be something that I would be even thinking about, because he would already be done took care of that and handled it and said, hey babe, I took this down here, I took care of this, or I've already talked to them and they're expecting you to come. There would be something of that sort. But as far as the hurt and the pain, like, I think when you get to the point that you know that it's time for you to do that, there is nothing that can really tell you not to do it. The anxiety, the fear, all of those things, they're going to come because that's just a part of human nature. But I will say that I probably slept better that night once I knew that his things were out. And I can't say I don't think I changed the locks that day, but I think I went and got locks like the next day or a couple of days after that. Like, it wasn't long after that I changed the locks on the house. And I didn't have a problem with walking away from the house, but what did happen to us in the very end, I knew one of us needed to leave this home at that point, and that was for both of our safety. And so if I had to say that there was something that I was concerned with, and I'm still concerned now, because being a homeowner is not an easy thing. It comes with other responsibilities. So, when things break around the house or you need to have repairs done, that's a heavy load to carry when you're carrying it by yourself. And when you're carrying it off of an average salary for the United States, it's not something that is real easy to do. And I know that some people may say, well, she, sharing all her business and things of that sort. But I think that people are looking for people that are giving authenticity, and that they are not putting on a show to tell you that it's easy. And there were days that I cried, and there were times, like, there is a separation that goes on. There is almost like a death process that takes place. You grieve after that's over, even when it's a bad relationship, because you were accustomed to, it's kind of like having somebody that, I can't use it as an example for me, but in the studies that I've done, or in someone that I have known that has done it, if they had to have something amputated, like I've known a few people that have had to have like a foot or a toe or a leg amputated, and what they said is that the nervous system for their leg it don't catch up for a long time, that leg is no longer there, that the nervous system still responds as though that component is still attached. And it was something, because when you think about cutting off a relationship, or you think about cutting off the time with people, it is the same way. It still feels like it's connected, or it's still trying to respond to what it has now had cut off from it. So if you used to sleeping in the bed with somebody, even if you weren't, there was nothing going down, you still were accustomed to that body person being there, that heat. I remember when I went through and I still do it now sometimes. Sometimes I just have stuff in the bed, like it might be a book that I'm reading, or I might have a notebook that I'm journaling in or something like that. I kind of keep the remotes sitting right there, because it feels like there is at least some company there. And so I think that's a very natural thing to feel. I think the fear and the anxiety that we go through with divorce is not something that is abnormal. So if it's somebody that's listening to this and you're trying to figure out, like, what am I going to do? By no means, again, am I advocating for that, but I'm letting you know that that's a very normal process that you might be feeling and or experiencing. And it doesn't necessarily go away immediately, but I can say that I had much peace after I did it. It was the leading up to it that was the hard part. But once I did it, it was like, oh, this is what it feels like on the other side. Y'all got to go back and see. I did a video. How did it feel when you come out of the wilderness? How did you feel? How did you feel when you come out of the wilderness? And I think if you think about anxiety, that's kind of where it's at. So anyway, if you liked this video, or you felt like it was something that was there, I know it was not as giggly as normal, because to me it was a more heavy topic. But if you like it, I need for you to click like. I need for you to share this with a friend, and then I need for you to subscribe. Have a good day.